Alright, today is setting timing and idle on my 83 Mustang. So what I'm going to show you applies to 81 through 85 cars with carburetors, specifically a Fox body or Mustang. If you had a 3.8 on any other car, it would work with a carburetor. So remember, this only works with the carburetors. In 84, this car is a 3.8 liter. They went to EFI in 84, so you have a whole different set of instructions. And the V8 in 84 became available with an EFI, or CFI, whatever you want to call it for that. But you could still buy the HO engines till 85. So if you have an 81 through 85 carbureted car, V6, 3.8 liter, or a 5.0, these instructions would apply. And the instructions I'm going to show you is how to set timing, how to set idle. And believe it or not, idle is not easy on these cars. So on these cars, there's something called a kicker, or VOTM, or whatever they call it. Sometimes the instructions are different, throttle kicker. So if you look at this car, let me undo this. There's a throttle kicker, and this is it right here. So what that throttle kicker does, based on vacuum, is advanced. It kicks the throttle up and kicks the RPMs up. So there's a very specific set of instructions that you have to follow when setting the idle. So if you have an older car, you just use the idle screw, you're done, right? You set the idle for 700 RPMs or 650 or something like that, and you're done. It's a lot more complex, and this car has an AC. So the instructions I'm going to show you for setting idle specific to AC. If you didn't have AC, you would follow a different set of instructions. So you basically do 3 adjustments to set idle on this car. Now you should be doing with the air filter on. It's a pain, but I'll do my final adjustments with it. So what you'll do is you'll be adjusting this screw here, which is a 1/4 inch, and this screw here, which is also a 1/4 inch. This screw here is adjusted for the AC. This screw here is adjusted without AC. And you do both if you have a car with AC. And then this screw is just adjusted if the kicker or the throttle kicker or VOTM or whatever you want to call it is not operating. It's the lowest RPMs the engine can run. So you have to set 3 different settings for idle on this car. So I'm going to show you that. As far as setting the timing on this car, you'll need a few things. Obviously, you need your timing light. And this is an inductive one. You'll need a set of sockets. The other thing that you will need later on for setting the idle, you'll just need a spare hose, like I have here. You'll need a spare hose for doing some of the advancing on it. So, and then you'll need a flathead screwdriver, and then, like I said, a 1/4 inch socket. So the timing, there's multiple ways of setting timing. I'm going to go exactly by the sticker on this car. Now, to set idle and all that, you need to be looking at the sticker, and you should have one. If not, most of the manuals come with one. My sticker's still good in this car. And in this car, it says, with the car in park. Now, make sure you follow those instructions. Some of these instructions you're setting idle and other stuff will say, put the car in drive, put the car in park. When you set timing, you put the car in park. So it says, with the car in park, at 800 RPM, it should be at 10 degrees before top dead center. Now, the other thing that you will need to do before you start with this is you'll need to loosen the distributor. In this particular model, with the V6, it uses a different screw than the V8. It uses a 1/2 inch. So I'll show those instructions, but you'll need a special curved socket, and you'll loosen the distributor, and then you'll need to mark your harmonic balancer with at 0, 10, and 20. 20 is not as important. The only reason I recommend you mark 20 so you know which line is what. And make sure the lines are different. So if you look underneath the car here, I've already marked them. The small line is what I care about. The big line is top dead center. This is 10 degrees for top dead center, and this is 20 degrees. So you can't really read it. I had to literally scrub it down to mark these, and I marked them with paint, which I recommend. So if you ever have to adjust title or timing in the future, you can. So you'll need to mark that too. Scrub it off with some scrubber, and then mark off top dead center, 10 degrees before top dead center and 20 degrees before top dead center. So that's already been done, obviously. The other thing too is you'll want to let the car warm up a little bit before you put the timing. So what I'm going to do is, so I don't get burned, I'm going to loosen this because it gets hot. Loosen the distributor first, you know, get everything connected, and then I'll start the engine. Now, it is recommended that you have keep the air filter on. Now, when you do the timing, air filter is not as much of an issue, but when you do the idle, they 100% recommend you have the air filter in place. That can be a challenge. So what I'll generally do is adjust it with the air filter loose here, throw it back on, and just double check and make any fine adjustments after that. So again, I'm going to show you exactly by the sticker how to set timing. There is another way that's recommended by the manuals to do it, which is to get a more accurate timing. So it is up to you. I have another set of instructions for setting time you can follow. You can follow these. I'm going to reset I found that the difference between the two sets of instructions was just minor. I'm talking minor. Maybe a half a degree difference. So I think these instructions I'm going to show you will work fine. And then the other thing you'll do is disconnect your vacuum advance on your distributor, and you will turn, remember, make sure you look at your instructions. The V8, I believe, is different. This is one of the things that'll be different. You turn right to advance, left to retard the distributor when you're setting your timing. So make sure on the V8 you check, and again, I can't remember, I'd have to open the manual up, but I would recommend you check anyways. And you'll know, right, if you're turning it the wrong way, well, it'll go more towards, if you're retarding it instead of advancing it, you'll know based on your light when you're checking it. So again, I'm going to go through the instructions. I'm going to show you how to do that. I know I'm talking quick. There's a lot to do these steps, and I hope you find it helpful. And please, again, I spent a lot of time researching this and getting this going to make sure I'm doing it right. And, you know, I'm doing the best I can with the recording I have, but at least it's a nice bright day and you can see what I'm doing. The thing I'm going to do, this is a pain, is I'm going to get the screw loosens for the distributor. It's usually easier just to disconnect the vacuum line to get in there. The screw is right down in there. And it's pretty obvious. It's the only one there that's even remotely the right size, and again, it's a 1/2 inch. Okay, distributor is now loose, as you can see. So once the distributor is loose, what I'm going to do is start the car. And remember, per the instructions, the car needs to be at 800 RPM. So before I start the car, I'm going to go ahead and hook up my inductive gun, timing light, or whatever you want to call it. Remember, this clip has to go over the first or the main cylinder, or the I'm having a brain fart, but it goes over cylinder 1, the first firing cylinder. My distributor is marked 1. If you have an original distributor, it is. If not, you need to follow the cable to the first cylinder, which is this cylinder up front here on the right. So that's hooked up. And I'm going to go ahead and hook the cables up. I'm just not going to plug the gun in. And you got to make sure you get this really good, or the light won't work. Okay, the next thing you have to do is tape off the advance. So this is the advance from the distributor. You need to tape it off. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And again, make sure you've warmed up the car a little bit before you do these instructions. So I'm going to go ahead and tape that up. And you need to make sure if you have AC, it is not on when you're doing this. So that's taped up. And I'm going to go ahead, start the car. AC off, everything off. Okay, the car's running a little, I want it running right at 800 RPM, so I'm going to go advance it. All right. So I'm using the advance screw right here to just advance the engine to get it right at 800 RPMs. Still a little low. All right. That's about perfect. So we're running at 800 RPMs. All right. So now I'm going to hook up the gun. So this is running a little, it's running pretty close. So again, if I want to advance, I would turn it left. If I want to retard it, I'll turn it right. So all right, so I should be right at, right at 10 degrees right now, right at 10 degrees. I'm going to double check the idle on the car. Okay, we're running a little hotter than I would like on the idle. So I'm going to calm it down a little bit. All right, right there. So 800 RPMs again. And I double check. All right, we're right at 10 degrees. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten it down. Okay, distributor doesn't move. And I'm going to double check after I tighten the distributor that I'm still fine. And I'm right where I need to be. So at that point, car's at 10 degrees. Remember, these instructions you have to do at park. So, and remember, the mark you're using for the timing light is right here. It's that little mark there. So I have it right at 10 degrees. Make sure when you tighten down your distributor, it's nice and tight, doesn't move. This one doesn't move. So I'm good to go. Timing piece is done. So I'm going to go ahead and take the screw out, disconnect the gun. Now don't be surprised the first time you do it that this doesn't work very well. And the key is, if you're doing it, now if you were doing it by yourself, I guess you could have somebody, if you didn't want to advance, manually advance it, you could, you know, have somebody in the car doing it. So what I'm going to do now, before I finish everything, is I'm going to hook up, and I'm fairly confident, this usually timing doesn't change much, putting the air filter back on, but I'm going to go ahead and reconnect the air filter here. and make sure my timing is good with everything connected. Right there. All right, I'm going to restart the car and double check with the air filter on, the timing's still good. Right at 800 RPMs. And we're still good. All right. Alrighty. Okay, so timing's done. Disconnect everything. So why would you want to check timing on your car, especially if you got it? So if your timing's too advanced, you can ruin the engine. So that's another reason why you want to check your timing. The reason I started really looking into my car was my car kept overheating, would overheat a lot. So when I did research, one of the things that they said is check your timing, and sure enough, the timing was running almost at 20 degrees before tops did center. So way too much advanced, and that was what was causing the engine to overheat. And it solved the problems immediately. So the next thing you'll need to do is you'll need to have a extended vacuum line for this next idle. We're going to idle with the AC. We're going to set the idle up with the car with AC. If you don't have a car with AC, this wouldn't apply. If you have a car with AC and it's still not running, you still need to follow these instructions. I'm going to say that again. If you have a car that has AC, you still need to follow these instructions. All right. So again, I go over to my sticker and it says curb idle with AC transmission in drive, climate control selector in off, position, vacuum operated throttle modulator, VOTM. And the VOTM is just this device here. It's this throttle kicker, what I was already showing you. That's your VOTM. It'd be nice if they'd update their instructions over the years to show that. Disconnect and plug VOTM vacuum hose. Install slave from manifold. Adjust idle to 850 by turning saddle bracket. Okay, again, this is a saddle bracket and it uses a 1/4 inch. Or it might use a 5/8. Let's check. So this bracket here is a 5/16. The saddle bracket. So again, the saddle bracket's right there. So the instruction said is from the manifold. Okay, so when they're saying from the manifold, on the back of these transmissions is all your accessories, and there is a hose that comes off underneath the manifold that goes back to your air cleaner. If you look at the air cleaner, it just goes to a block, so it's only here for the reason of, it goes to like a block point. So it's only here for the reason of doing maintenance. So if you look at it there, so what you're going to do is just connect from that hose that's going to your air cleaner, put it on a coupler, make sure it's nice and tight, and you're going to disconnect your throttle kicker or VOTM. Be careful, you don't want to break it. These are hard to get a hold of, so do it gently. You really got to be careful with these. And you're going to connect it to that. So now this is running directly off of it. So remember, this has got to be in drive. So I'm going to block the tires to be safe. And I also just replaced the brakes on this car, so I know it has good rear brakes. They're brand new. So you probably could get away with just using the brakes, but I'm not going to do it. So remember, in this step, we're going to adjust the car by following the sticker to 650 RPMs. All right, so again, transmission in drive, so make sure we're following the instructions. Throttle modulator disconnected and plugged into manifold, which we just did with that hose. Did wrong here is I forgot to hook up the vacuum advanced on the distributor, and the hose moved, so now I got to find the hose. Okay, so still a bit lower than I'd like. So still only running about 550. Okay. 650, I'm gonna go a little bit more. Yeah, that's a little too much. Let's go down a little bit. All right, we're right where we want to be. All right, so now we're running at 650. I'm gonna put the car back in park. All right, so you will turn this screw to the right. Well, you'll turn it this way. I'm sorry, I don't know. If you were looking this way, it's right. It basically to advance it. So what I'm going to do again, like I said before, is I'm going to double check everything by putting air filter back on, minus the advancement. I'm not going to put it back together. So everything else is connected. And I'm going to screw it down and double check that the numbers, or that I'm still running right around the 650 I need to. And I should be fine, but we'll double check. Yep, we're running right where we want to, right around 650. Perfect. All right. So the idle for the with any car with AC is done. So keep in mind here that if you notice in the video, I dropped the dropped idle all the way down, because when I had brought the idle up for setting the timing, it was too far up, so I had to drop it before I could adjust this. So make note of that. Okay. The next idle we are going to adjust is a solenoid. Really easy. It just says VOTM off, adjust idle to 550 by turning solenoid adjustment screw. Again, this is the solenoid here, like we talked about. And all they're saying on this one, so I'm going to go ahead and reconnect this the back the way it should. Get rid of this. So you're just going to very gently, oh, don't break. So you're just not going to connect the vacuum up. There is an electronic piece to this. It will tell you in the instructions if you need to disconnect that. Did I not connect this? Oh, it's connected. All right. So I'm going to get my 1/4 inch socket. Now and get it ready. And go ahead and connect it so it's ready to go. So the vacuum's off. It doesn't say to tape it off. So remember, if the instructions will tell you if it needs to tape it off or not. This one doesn't say to tape it off. Okay. All right. All right. And this one here, the car is going to be in drive to test this too as well, because the first steps before the points on this instructions say AC transmission and drive, climate control, selector is off position. So okay, so we've VOTM is off, and we're going to adjust that solenoid to 550 RPMs. So again, I'm going to start the car. Put the car in drive, and this one here is not bad, so I'm just going to bring it up a little bit, 550. At 650, so we're good there. Idle I'm going to adjust is the lowest idle. And this one here, you're going to use the traditional idle screw. First thing you have to do is disconnect the TOSP. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So it's disconnected. And at this point, you're just going to use this idle screw, and this is going to be at 600 or 450. So it's way too low now. Put in drive. A little too low. Alrighty. Okay, we're right at about 450 now. I'm going to go ahead and put the air cleaner on. See where we're at. See if we're still at 450. Yep, we're right there. So we're all done. I'm going to rehook everything up. And okay. All right, so we're all done. Timing's done. Idle's adjusted. We are good to go. Again, 3 different, you'll adjust the solenoid screw. I found it's easier to actually go to the last adjustment first and then do the solenoid. It just goes a lot easier. But anyways, I thank you for watching, and please subscribe.